laughs softly, tilting his head as if amused by a private joke, chosen one. Do you hear that word and feel its weight? Funny thing about being chosen, it doesn't come with a fanfare. No trumpets, no applause, no parade down the street. No, it sneaks in quietly, like a shadow sliding across the floor while everyone else is busy looking the other way, and somehow, it finds you. Laughs under his breath, not because you're ready, not because you've earned it, but because the moment has been waiting for you all along. Laughs softly, almost like he's sharing a secret. The world isn't ready for destiny, whispers. Such a strange idea, isn't it? People expect destiny to roar, to come crashing in with fireworks, blinding lights, a dramatic soundtrack that signals, this is your moment. But no, destiny isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in quietly, deliberately, in the spaces you think are empty, in the pauses between your thoughts, in the silence of a room you thought was ordinary. It waits, patient, persistent, like a shadow following your every move, unnoticed but always present. You ever notice how easy it is to ignore a whisper? People are so busy shouting, so busy distracting themselves with noise, chaos, scrolling endlessly through meaningless distractions that they forget to listen. But the whisper of destiny, it doesn't go away. It keeps nudging, testing, poking at the edges of your awareness. It doesn't scream because it doesn't need to. The subtlety is part of the test. Only those who pay attention, only those who slow down enough to notice, only those who listen closely catch it. And catching it, that's the start of everything. Laughs low. Almost under his breath, most people run from the whisper without realizing it. They call it coincidence, superstition, imagination. They ignore signs, miss opportunities, dismiss the strange gut feelings that prick at their consciousness like tiny alarms. But destiny, destiny is patient. It doesn't mind if you ignore it. It doesn't mind if you procrastinate, if you doubt, if you fill your head with distractions. It waits. And here's the beautiful part. It always finds a way to come back. The whisper grows louder, not by sound, but by intensity, by frequency, by the feeling that something is shifting, that everything familiar feels slightly off-kilter, like the floor beneath your feet is vibrating with anticipation. And it's relentless. It doesn't take no for an answer, even when you try to ignore it. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't plead. It simply persists, and eventually, you start noticing. Maybe in a moment of clarity during the quiet of your morning, maybe in the feeling of goosebumps during an ordinary conversation, maybe in the sudden awareness that life has been nudging you towards something for longer than you remember. Laughs quietly, shaking his head, and then the test begins. Because hearing a whisper is only the beginning. The real challenge is paying attention. The real challenge is choosing to follow it when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when it disrupts everything you thought you knew about your life. Destiny whispers because it wants the willing. It wants someone who will lean in, who will notice the subtle patterns, who will recognize the rhythm of the unseen and have the courage to step into it. Funny, isn't it, how people are terrified of being chosen? They imagine responsibility, expectations, pressure, failure. They picture the weight of something bigger than themselves, and they flinch. But the whisper doesn't ask for your comfort. It asks for your attention. 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe a single heartbeat of focus. And in that short span, everything can shift. The whisper is delicate but powerful, invisible but undeniable. It's testing you, not punishing you. It's inviting you, not commanding you. Laughs softly, eyes gleaming with mischief, and here's the secret most people never notice. The whisper isn't coming from the outside. Not entirely. It's a reflection of what's already inside you. The spark you've been ignoring, the instinct you've been dismissing, the calling you've been too afraid to acknowledge. Destiny doesn't create itself in the world. It stirs the truth that's always existed in you, waiting for your awareness, waiting for your willingness to notice. And when you finally do, everything changes, not instantly, not in a bang, but subtly, irrevocably, like a door slowly swinging open in a dark hallway you didn't know existed. The whisper, persistent, quiet, insistent, keeps nudging. It tests patience, it tests focus, it tests courage. Those who listen, those who pay attention, begin to see the hidden connections, the patterns in the chaos, the moments that were always signs. And that's the power of listening to destiny. It doesn't just reveal what is coming, it reveals who you are, who you can become, who you were meant to be all along. Laughs softly, curling his words like smoke. Most people will never hear it, or if they do, they'll run. But those who listen, truly listen, will find themselves standing at the edge of something extraordinary, waiting for the next whisper to guide them further down a path that's always been theirs, even if they never realized it. Laughs low, tilting his head as if amused by a thought no one else has caught. Hidden paths. Funny how people walk through life thinking the road ahead is obvious, straight, predictable. They follow signs, schedules, instructions, maps drawn by others, and never stop to notice the subtle currents beneath the surface. Hidden paths, they're always there, weaving between the chaos, the noise, the distractions that keep most people blind. Only the chosen notice them. Only the ones paying attention see the footprints of opportunity, the faint shimmer of something waiting, the little cracks in reality that reveal a path no one else can walk. People imagine the chosen path as clear, lit, unbroken. Laughs softly, how naive. Hidden paths don't announce themselves with billboards. They hide in plain sight, disguised as ordinary streets, mundane routines, small choices that feel insignificant. The irony is delicious. The ones who can't see them pass right by, convinced nothing unusual is happening. Meanwhile, those meant to notice stumble upon a clue, a strange coincidence, a flicker of something extraordinary in the ordinary, and suddenly the world shifts just enough to reveal the trail. The beauty of a hidden path is its subtlety. It doesn't force you. It doesn't shout. It waits. Chuckles quietly. It lets life continue its ordinary performance while quietly nudging, guiding, coaxing the one who is ready to follow. You can ignore it, dismiss it, pretend it's coincidence, but it doesn't disappear. It simply waits for your awareness to catch up, your perception to sharpen, your courage to recognize what's been hiding in front of you all along. Laughs under his breath, almost gleeful, and those who are meant to follow, they feel it even before they know what it is. A subtle pull in their chest, a strange clarity in their mind, a moment of déjà vu that shakes them awake. They can't explain it, they can't label it, and that's exactly the point. The path doesn't reveal itself fully at first. It teases, it tests. It wants the seeker to prove they're paying attention, to show that they can notice the invisible, to prove that they have the patience to follow something that doesn't scream for attention. Following a hidden path requires trust, trust in yourself, trust in timing, trust in the invisible hand guiding you when everything in your life says to doubt, to retreat, to stay comfortable. Laughs softly, voice curling like smoke in the path. It's not always easy. It twists, it turns, it disappears when you think you understand it, only to reappear in another form, disguised differently, challenging you to remain vigilant, to stay awake, to notice the rhythm of the world shifting around you. Most people can't handle it. They stumble, fall, give up. They need certainty, straight lines, guarantees. Hidden paths aren't like that. They demand curiosity, patience, awareness, a willingness to risk the ordinary for a chance at something extraordinary. And the chosen, they sense this. They feel it in the way their intuition sharpens, in the way coincidences begin to align, in the way subtle signs multiply around them like breadcrumbs. In a dark forest, laughs quietly, almost sinisterly. And here's the delicious part. The hidden path always tests the seeker. It isn't just a road, it's a mirror. Every step forward, every hesitation, every choice reflects back their courage, their focus, their willingness to embrace the unknown. The path doesn't just guide, they guide themselves through it. It's a puzzle, a game, a subtle pressure test designed to separate the observers from the participants, the pretenders from the chosen. People who ignore hidden paths never realize what they missed. They continue walking straight, believing the world is simple, linear, predictable. But those who follow them, oh, they find wonders they never imagined. Opportunities, clarity, alignment, a strange energy that validates every step, every risk, every moment of focus they devoted to noticing what others overlooked. The path rewards observation, patience, persistence, laughs low, almost whispering in the best part. The path never repeats itself. It evolves as you evolve. Every discovery leads to another, every choice opens a new corridor of possibility. Hidden paths are alive, responsive, intelligent, and they're designed for the ones who are awake enough to see them, patient enough to follow them, and daring enough to trust what they cannot yet fully understand. Following a hidden path is terrifying, thrilling, chaotic, subtle, deliberate, and transformative all at once. It's a game the universe plays, and only those who listen, watch, and trust the pull can ever hope to win. The rest, they continue walking the straight line, missing the magic that waited just for them. Laugh softly, voice curling like smoke focus. Oh, people underestimate it, don't they? They think they can dabble, half watch, half listen, half believe, and somehow the universe will still hand them everything they desire. But focus, true focus, is a predator. It hunts. It sees the details that the distracted cannot. It cuts through the chaos, the noise, the endless distractions that most people drape over their lives like blankets, pretending comfort is the same as awareness. The chosen know this. They understand that a single moment of true focus can shift the entire trajectory of a life. Most people think attention is simple. They think concentrating on one thing is easy. Laughs quietly, shaking his head, but they're wrong. Focus is a war. It's a battle against every little impulse, every temptation, every internal and external interruption screaming for your energy. It's saying no to the seductive call of distraction and yes to the invisible hand that guides, that nudges, that pulls you toward what you're meant to see. And only those who fight for it, who fight through the noise, feel its power, its precision, its unrelenting clarity. You ever notice how powerful moments almost always arrive quietly? A whisper in a crowded room, a flicker of insight in the middle of chaos, a sudden alignment that seems impossible until you notice it. Focus is what allows you to catch that whisper, to notice that flicker, to step into that alignment before it disappears again. And it disappears, oh yes, it disappears for the inattentive, the impatient, the distracted. It's a delicate little miracle reserved for the willing. Bra laughs under his breath, and the irony is delicious. People believe they are busy when they are not focused. They call themselves productive, but they are scattered. They chase noise, chase comfort, chase fleeting approval, all the while missing the threads connecting the moments, the signals embedded in the ordinary, the rhythm of the unseen that only attention can reveal. Focus doesn't demand effort in the way they imagine. It demands sacrifice, sacrifice of distraction, of laziness, of convenience, sacrifice of believing the ordinary is enough. True focus doesn't just see, it perceives. It senses patterns in randomness, whispers in chaos, opportunities in plain sight. It notices the faint glimmer of what others overlook, the subtle alignments that hint at destiny, the small nudges that, if followed, unfold into something far larger than a life guided by chance. And the chosen, they don't just notice these things, they follow them relentlessly, quietly, with a patience most people never understand. Laughs softly, almost a whisper, focuses a sword and a mirror at once. It cuts through illusion, revealing what is real. It reflects the mind that wields it, showing weaknesses, strengths, possibilities, dangers, and it tests you. The moment you waver, the moment you doubt, the moment you succumb to distraction, the clarity disappears, the whispers fade, the flickers vanish, and you're left in the same chaos you always were, blind to the guidance that was only ever a thought away. Most people don't understand how fragile focus is. They think it's a constant, a skill, something they can flip on whenever convenient. But it's not. It's alive. It demands respect. It demands awareness. It demands intention. And the more you feed it, the sharper it becomes, cutting through doubt, piercing confusion, revealing the paths hidden in the cracks of ordinary life. Laughs quietly, voice curling with amusement, and the chosen. They know this. They know that 15 minutes of absolute, undivided attention can unlock doors that years of casual effort cannot. They know that focus is the bridge between the ordinary and the extraordinary, the unseen and the revealed, the distracted and the awakened. They know that even a fleeting lapse can blur the signals, dilute the whispers, and hide the next step in a trail meant only for them. Bar focus is not passive. It is a deliberate act of will, a commitment to see what others cannot, to hear what others ignore, to step into the invisible currents that shape the world. And those who wield it properly, they begin to notice how the universe opens just enough to allow a glimpse, a path, a signal, a chance. And that glimpse, that path, that signal, that chance is enough to start the unraveling of everything that came before, to redirect the life that follows, to reveal the extraordinary hiding in the ordinary. Laughs softly, almost sinisterly. Most people never find this. They flounder, distracted, overwhelmed, lost in noise and comfort. But the chosen, the ones who listen, who fight, who endure, who focus, they begin to see. And seeing is the first step, the smallest step, the most critical step toward everything that is waiting, quietly, patiently, deliberately, just for them. Laughs low, almost as if amused by a thought no one else can hear. Opportunity. People think it knocks once and then disappears forever. They imagine grand signs, flashing lights, obvious moments that scream, "This is your chance." But no, opportunity is subtle, sneaky, sly. It hides in plain sight, disguised as coincidence, disguised as routine, disguised as something mundane that most people would pass without a second glance. Only the ones paying attention, only the ones willing to notice the invisible threads connecting moments, see it. Only the chosen recognize it when it slides past like a shadow, almost teasing, almost daring them to reach for it. Most people are blind to it. They're too busy chasing what they think they want, chasing noise, chasing temporary pleasure, chasing approval. They're distracted, and distraction is the enemy of opportunity. Opportunity never shouts. It doesn't plead. It doesn't bribe or beg. It waits quietly for someone capable of seeing it, for someone capable of understanding that what appears ordinary could be the doorway to something extraordinary. Laughs softly, shaking his head, and when they ignore it, the universe doesn't yell, it simply moves on. It leaves the opportunity for someone else clever enough to notice, patient enough to act, and daring enough to step forward. Laughs under his breath, almost whispering. You see, the beauty of opportunity is its test. It doesn't just hand itself to anyone. It tests observation, patience, courage, focus, awareness. It drops hints. It sends signs. It nudges the chosen one in ways that can feel almost imperceptible at first. A strange coincidence, a fleeting thought, a sudden gut feeling that something is aligning, tiny breadcrumbs leading the way. Most people ignore these breadcrumbs, brushing them off as trivial, mundane, irrelevant. But the chosen, they recognize them, follow them, trust them. Opportunity doesn't tolerate indecision. It doesn't wait forever. And yet it is patient enough to align with those who are truly ready. Timing, subtlety, perception, these are its weapons. It's never urgent, never aggressive. It moves at the pace of those who can notice, slipping between chaos and distraction like a phantom. Laughs softly, voice curling. The chosen must learn to recognize the rhythm of its movement, to sense the pattern of its arrival, to trust the invisible signal, even when logic says otherwise, even when fear whispers to retreat, even when comfort screams to remain still. Most people mistake luck for opportunity. They confuse coincidence for timing. They believe opportunity comes with guarantees, with promises, with clarity. But real opportunity, true opportunity, demands risk. It demands faith. It demands action without certainty, courage without applause, and awareness without validation. And the chosen one, they feel this. They feel the pull, the subtle insistence that something extraordinary is nudging them toward the path they were meant to walk. Laughs quietly, almost sinisterly. Opportunity is a test of attention as much as a reward for awareness. The moment you notice it, the moment you acknowledge its presence, the moment you decide to act, that is where everything begins to shift. Every choice afterward carries weight. Every step forward becomes part of a sequence that leads somewhere significant. The ordinary cracks under the pressure of attention, and suddenly the hidden pattern reveals itself. What seemed coincidental now feels deliberate. What seemed trivial now feels crucial. And here's the delicious part. Opportunity often disguises itself as danger, discomfort, challenge. Most people recoil, retreat, turn away. But the chosen see it differently. They understand that discomfort is the test, that risk is the doorway, that chaos is the canvas upon which opportunity paints its true picture. 15 minutes, an hour, a fleeting moment. These are often enough for someone alert to glimpse the pattern, to recognize the signal, to act in ways that change the story completely. Laugh softly, voice curling. Opportunity rewards the vigilant, the patient, the courageous. It punishes the distracted, the fearful, the indifferent. It slips past those who fail to notice, only to return to those who do, reinforcing the pattern that attention and awareness are the currency required to claim what the universe has placed in waiting. And every subtle action, every small choice, every moment of focus builds momentum, leading the chosen ever closer to what has been quietly prepared, waiting just beyond the veil of ordinary perception. Following opportunity requires trust. Trust in the unseen, trust in timing, trust in the signals you feel rather than see. Trust that what appears ordinary could be the doorway to the extraordinary. The chosen recognize this. They lean in, they pay attention, they act decisively yet patiently, embracing the subtle chaos that accompanies every step toward what is waiting for them in the shadows. Just beyond the ordinary life, everyone else is content to wander through. Laughs low, almost whispering in the beauty of it. The universe always has more. Opportunity never truly ends. It evolves, shifts, hides again, waiting for the next willing observer, the next patient listener, the next courageous step toward what is unseen, subtle, deliberate, and entirely transformative. Laughs softly, tilting his head as if savoring a private joke. Courage, such a deliciously misunderstood thing. People imagine it as roaring, as grand gestures, as bold acts of heroism that everyone notices. But real courage, Real courage is quieter, more insidious, and infinitely more satisfying. It sneaks up in the shadows, hiding in the small choices, in the moments when no one is watching, when the easy path is tempting, when every instinct screams to retreat. That's where courage lives, not in applause, not in recognition, not in the safe certainty of the ordinary, but in the willingness to lean into uncertainty, to face what others fear, to step forward when the world whispers, turn back. Most people mistake confidence for courage. They confuse bravado, arrogance, noise, performance with the real thing. Laughs under his breath, but courage doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need a spotlight. It doesn't need validation. It is the quiet force that moves you to act, to notice, to confront, to endure, even when failure is probable, when pain is certain, when ridicule is inevitable. And the chosen, they feel it deep in their bones, a subtle hum of power, a pulse of determination that refuses to be ignored. You see, the world is built to challenge the courageous. Every day, every decision, every encounter is a test of whether you will act despite fear. The path of the chosen is not lined with comfort. It is lined with resistance, obstacles, distractions, voices telling you that safety is better, that retreat is smarter, that nothing good awaits beyond the ordinary. But courage doesn't listen. Courage leans in. It tilts its head, notices the risk, acknowledges it, and then takes the step anyway. Laughs softly, shaking his head, and oh, the thrill of that step, the delicious tension of standing at the edge, knowing what might happen, but choosing to move forward anyway. That's where life begins to bend in your favor. Most people flee from what they don't understand. They seek control, predictability, comfort. But the chosen, they understand that the unknown is a playground, a proving ground, a secret test crafted by the universe to separate the passive from the active, the ordinary from the extraordinary. Every small act of courage builds momentum, strengthens the mind, sharpens awareness, and awakens the instinct to recognize what others overlook. Laughs quietly. The world tests you, yes, but courage transforms that test into a stepping stone. Courage is not reckless. It is precise. It is calculated. It sees the danger, the fear, the potential for failure, and moves forward anyway. And in doing so, it exposes the hidden threads of opportunity, the faint signals that are invisible to the fearful, the distracted, the faint-hearted. The chosen learn to act decisively in those moments, to trust the subtle cues, to navigate the chaos that others run from. They begin to notice how courage is both shield and weapon, a lens and a compass, a key that unlocks doors no one else can see. Laughs softly, voice curling like smoke, and the most intoxicating part, courage is contagious. Once one step is taken, once fear is faced, once uncertainty is embraced, the momentum grows. Awareness sharpens. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly appear. Connections, insights, signals, all align in a subtle symphony that rewards the bold and punishes the timid. Every act of bravery, no matter how small, compounds, setting the stage for the next step, the next challenge, the next revelation. People misunderstand courage because they want it to be loud. They want dramatic gestures, applause, recognition, proof. But real courage is invisible to the untrained eye. It manifests in patience, in focus, in listening, in choosing the hard path instead of the easy one. It is endurance, persistence, the quiet refusal to yield to fear, distraction, or temptation. And the chosen, they sense its presence, feel its pull, respond to it instinctively, almost without thinking, trusting a force they can't fully explain but can't deny. Laughs quietly, almost sinisterly, And the beauty of courage is that it never truly ends. Every act strengthens the next. Every decision to face fear builds a foundation for the unseen challenges ahead. It teaches the mind to notice, the heart to trust, the soul to align with the rhythm of the unseen forces that guide the chosen, that whisper in shadows, that nudge subtly, deliberately, and insistently toward what is waiting for those brave enough to move forward, step by step, without hesitation, without doubt, without regret. Laughs softly, voice curling like smoke, eyes glinting with mischief awareness. Such a treacherous little thing, isn't it? Most people think they are aware, that they notice, that they see, but real awareness is a predator. It lurks in the corners of the mind, whispering truths no one else wants to hear. It makes you uncomfortable. It shakes the foundations you've built around your ignorance. It exposes the cracks in the mask you've so carefully constructed. Most people run from it, dismiss it, ignore it. They convince themselves that blissful unawareness is safer, easier, simpler. But the chosen lean in. They pay attention, even when it hurts, even when it confuses, even when it threatens everything they think they know. Laughs under his breath, tilting his head. People fear awareness because it demands honesty. It doesn't allow lies, excuses, or distractions. It reflects your choices back to you, naked, unflinching, relentless. It shows you the patterns in your life, the signals you ignored, the whispers you dismissed. It highlights what you could have done differently, what you should have seen, what you refused to face. And most people, they panic, they stumble, they retreat into noise, into busyness, into comfort, anything that dulls the sting of seeing clearly. But the chosen, they let it wash over them. They let the uncomfortable clarity sink in, twist in their mind, shake their assumptions, sharpen their instincts. Awareness doesn't reward the distracted. It doesn't bless the careless. It demands presence. Presence of mind, presence of heart, presence of soul. Every detail, every nuance, every subtle signal is a piece of a puzzle that only those willing to notice can solve. Laughs softly, almost sinisterly. The chosen understand this instinctively. They watch, they listen, they feel. A flicker of movement, a change in tone, a hesitation in a step, all of it matters. Nothing is too small, nothing insignificant, nothing unconnected. Awareness turns ordinary moments into portals, whispers into guidance, chaos into patterns, if you know how to see. Most people skim through life, skimming the surface, thinking their eyes capture the world. But the surface is a lie. It hides depth, it hides opportunity, it hides danger. Real awareness penetrates. It senses what is hidden, what is coming, what is waiting. It reads between words, behind gestures, inside intentions. And the chosen, they practice it instinctively. They notice what others overlook, remember what others forget, connect what others cannot. They see the invisible strings pulling at reality, and they follow them step by careful step until the unseen becomes tangible. Laughs quietly, shaking his head. Awareness is not passive. It is active, deliberate, exacting. It demands energy, focus, courage. It punishes laziness, distractibility, arrogance. Every moment ignored is a lost signal, a missed opportunity, a step away from what could have been revealed. And yet the universe always provides a new chance for those who notice. The chosen, they seize it. They embrace the discomfort of clarity, the tension of knowing, the responsibility that comes with insight. They do not flinch, they do not dismiss, they do not pretend ignorance is bliss. They lean in, and here's the beautiful, twisted part. Awareness teaches you about others as much as it teaches you about yourself. Every action, every intention, every subtle energy reveals patterns, weaknesses, strengths, possibilities. The world begins to speak in a language that only the alert understand. The distracted hear noise, the fearful hear static, the chosen, they hear the signal, and it guides them, molds them, aligns them, sometimes gently, sometimes harshly, sometimes almost cruelly, always precisely. Laugh softly, almost delighted awareness is cumulative. Every observation, every attention paid, every moment of noticing adds to a reservoir of insight that strengthens the mind, sharpens the perception, hones the instincts. Laughs softly, a slow, deliberate sound like a secret shared with the darkness, something big. The words alone make most people squirm, don't they? They hear it and immediately imagine fireworks, applause, instant change, a life suddenly rearranged by magic. But the truth, the delicious truth, is that something big doesn't arrive with a bang. It doesn't knock politely. It creeps, it simmers, it brews quietly beneath the surface while the world keeps spinning, pretending nothing unusual is happening. And you're about to feel it. You're about to notice it before anyone else does, before the chaos of ordinary life drowns it out. Laughs softly, tilting his head as if amused by a secret. The world isn't ready for the extraordinary, often approaches quietly. Oh, how most people never see it coming. They imagine transformation like fireworks, like a sudden explosion that rearranges everything they thought they knew. Laughs low, but no, the extraordinary isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself with drums or blinding lights. It creeps in like a shadow, brushing against the edges of your awareness while the world keeps spinning, pretending everything is ordinary. It's subtle, delicate, patient, and the ones who notice it first are the ones who are already awake in ways that others cannot even imagine. Most people never see it. They're trapped in routine, in distraction, in the comforting illusion that life is predictable. They are busy with noise, busy with fleeting pleasures, busy ignoring the small hints that something bigger is moving beneath the surface. Laughs quietly, voice curling like smoke, they fail to see the glimmer in a glance, the strange coincidence in a mundane conversation, the sudden feeling of being nudged toward something they cannot yet name. And because they ignore it, the extraordinary passes them by, slipping silently into the hands of the prepared, the attentive, the willing. The extraordinary has a rhythm, but it is subtle. Doesn't care for impatience, for fear, for the frantic attempts to grasp it before it's ready. It waits for those who can notice, for those who can feel the currents, for those who are sensitive to the vibrations beneath the surface of ordinary life. Laugh softly, tilting his head, timing is everything. A second too early, a step too late, a thought ignored, and it could have passed by unnoticed, leaving only the faintest trace for the unwary. The extraordinary tests you even before it arrives, teasing, nudging, whispering in ways so small that only the attentive can follow. Most people confuse loudness with significance. They believe that change, transformation, opportunity must announce itself with grandeur, with spectacle, with immediacy. But the subtle, the quiet, the nearly invisible, that is where the power lies. Laughs under his breath, the extraordinary hides in plain sight, disguised as ordinary events, hidden in moments that seem trivial, fleeting, insignificant. Only the prepared notice the pattern. Only the alert see the rhythm. Only the willing recognize the signal that something monumental is about to unfold. Laugh slow, almost whispering, and here's the delicious irony. The extraordinary doesn't arrive because you demand it. It doesn't knock politely on your door. It doesn't care about schedules, plans, or expectations. It comes when it's ready, guided by forces invisible, deliberate, persistent. The world will keep spinning. in its predictable chaos while something immense gathers momentum in the shadows. And if you're awake enough, alert enough, aware enough, you'll feel it before anyone else does. You'll sense it in the stir of the air, the flicker of a thought, the subtle alignment of events that, taken together, hint at the unfolding of something that could change everything. Most people miss this. They are too distracted, too impatient, too unwilling to pay attention to small signals. They skim over the moments that contain the first whispers of transformation. They laugh at coincidences, ignore gut feelings, dismiss intuition as imagination. But the extraordinary is patient. It does not require their recognition. It will continue to move, to align, to build, to wait for those who can see it. Laughs softly, voice curling, and when the prepared notice it, when they lean in, when they allow themselves to be guided by the subtle signs, the ordinary world suddenly starts to bend. The hidden currents become visible, and the first threads of transformation begin to weave themselves into reality. Awareness, patience, attentiveness. These are the keys. They separate the ones who stumble through life blind from the ones who step into the unfolding power, who ride the invisible currents, who sense the approach of the extraordinary before anyone else does. Laughs quietly, tilting his head. Every detail matters. Every subtle signal counts. Every fleeting moment is part of the pattern. The extraordinary doesn't shout. It whispers, it teases, it tests. And those who notice, who follow, who trust it, they are the ones who stand at the center of its unfolding, ready to catch what the world has been quietly preparing for them, hidden in plain sight, invisible to all but the alert, the patient, the daring. Laughs softly, the sound curling like smoke in the room's subtle signs. Oh, people underestimate them, don't they? They think life will hand them clear instructions, blinking arrows, flashing neon lights screaming, "This is it." Laughs low, but the universe, the extraordinary, it doesn't work that way. It's far too clever for that. It leaves breadcrumbs, tiny, delicate, almost invisible hints scattered across ordinary moments, waiting for someone awake enough to notice them, daring the inattentive to miss them entirely. And most people do. Most people walk right past, blind to the messages hidden in plain sight, convinced the world is as simple as it appears. The subtle signs aren't always obvious. Laughs quietly, voice curling like smoke. Sometimes they appear as coincidences, seemingly meaningless interactions, or fleeting glimpses that vanish before comprehension can catch up. Sometimes it's a feeling, a gut pull, a chill, a flicker of awareness that something isn't as ordinary as it seems. The chosen recognize these signs for what they are. They feel the rhythm beneath the chaos, the pattern beneath the noise, the pulse of something bigger moving silently, deliberately toward them. They know that ignoring these signs is not just a mistake, it's a refusal to participate in the unfolding of their own story. Most people are too distracted to notice. They are consumed with the urgent, the mundane, the superficial. Laughs low, shaking his head. They scroll, they scroll, they scroll. They talk, they talk, they talk. They miss the whispers because they are too busy making noise of their own. But the subtle signs, oh, they wait, they persist. They flicker, they shimmer, they nudge relentlessly, testing awareness, patience, and perception. And the chosen, they pay attention, they lean in. They notice patterns where others see chaos. They see signals where others see randomness. Laugh softly, almost whispering the beauty of subtle signs is in their quiet insistence. They don't demand, they don't shout, they never come with guarantees. They only appear, disappear, reappear, teasing, nudging, insisting that the attentive notice them. It's a game, a puzzle, a test, and only the patient, the perceptive, the daring can follow the trail to its source, to the unfolding of something that will change everything. Most will fail because they lack the discipline to pay attention, the courage to trust the invisible, the patience to wait for the pattern to emerge fully. Awareness is everything. Laughs low, tilting his head, every detail, every small irregularity, every coincidence, every fleeting thought matters. The subtle signs are threads in a tapestry too intricate for the untrained eye. They connect moments, intentions, people, opportunities. Ignore them, and the tapestry remains invisible, the pattern unnoticed, the doorway to the extraordinary unopened. Follow them, and suddenly, the world begins to bend. Every small signal adds up, every flicker matters, every whisper counts. The universe is speaking in riddles, and the chosen, they hear the answer before the question is fully asked. Most people want clarity, immediacy, certainty. They demand signals that scream and flash and leave no room for doubt. Laughs quietly, but the extraordinary is far too clever for that. It rewards subtlety, patience, observation, courage. The signs are never obvious to the untrained eye. They require attention, perception, a willingness to lean in, to trust the invisible, to move without proof, to act without applause. The chosen learn to see the invisible, to sense the unseen, to follow the faintest whispers, and know they lead somewhere meaningful, somewhere transformative, somewhere that reshapes the ordinary into something magnificent. Laughs low, voice curling with mischief, and here's the twist. The subtle signs are as much about testing the chosen as they are about guiding them. They test patience, they test focus, they test courage. Every signal ignored is a lesson lost, every coincidence missed is an opportunity delayed. But the chosen, they see, they notice, they remember, they act, and in doing so, they align themselves with currents invisible to anyone else, preparing for the arrival of the extraordinary, moving step by deliberate step toward what the world has quietly been shaping just for them. The subtle signs are persistent. They do not vanish. They reappear, they reassert themselves, they insist upon recognition. The ordinary cannot comprehend them. The unprepared cannot follow them. But the chosen, oh, the chosen track them, study them, trust them, and in their attention, in their awareness, in their patience, they begin to witness the unfolding of a reality that has been quietly assembling, hidden in plain sight, invisible to everyone else, waiting for the one who dares to notice. Laughs softly, a low, deliberate sound that curls around the edges of thought. Patience, such a deliciously misunderstood thing. People think it's about sitting quietly, waiting politely, surrendering to time like a fool sipping tea in a calm room. Laughs low, shaking his head, but real patience. Oh, real patience is far more dangerous, far more intoxicating. It is the ability to sit in chaos, to watch the world spin madly while you remain unmoved, attentive, calculating, sensing. It is hunger restrained, fire held in trembling hands without letting it burn everything around you. It is an art, a game, a subtle mastery of timing that most people are far too impatient to understand. Most people fail at it. They want immediacy, gratification, clarity, results now. Laughs quietly, voice curling like smoke, and when life does not comply, they panic, flail, distract themselves with noise, with busy work, with petty distractions. But the chosen, they know patience is a weapon. It is a tool. It is a subtle force that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the unaware from the awakened. To wait, really wait, is to observe, to see the faint patterns in the chaos, to notice the currents that others can't even sense. And those who master it, oh, they become dangerous, precise, aware in ways the impatient could never imagine. Patience is not passive, laughs under his breath. No, it is active. It is deliberate, cunning, exacting. Every second of waiting sharpens perception, hones awareness, strengthens the instincts. The world tests the patient by offering distractions, delays, frustrations, obstacles, chaos disguised as reality, pretending that the ordinary is all there is. Most people react. They strike too early, they stumble, they crash into the noise. But the chosen, they wait, they watch, they feel, they lean in without a flinch. They learn to sense when the moment has arrived, when timing aligns with opportunity, when action will carry the weight of everything the universe has been preparing in secret. Laugh softly, almost sinisterly, and here's the fun part. Patience is a teacher. It reveals who you are, how you think, how much you can endure, how deeply you can trust the unseen, the invisible, the unknown. The impatient flee at uncertainty. They seek control, predictability, the illusion of comfort. But the chosen, they embrace uncertainty. They lean into it, revel in it, allow the tension to sharpen their senses, awaken intuition, align perception. Waiting becomes a dance, a thrill, a subtle test of awareness and courage. Every second endured is a victory, a strengthening, a preparation for what is coming, for what is already moving toward them in ways unseen, unheard, almost imperceptible. Most people are blind to timing. They strike too soon. They hesitate too long. Laughs quietly, they mistake urgency for importance, noise for signal, chaos for clarity. Patience allows you to feel the difference, to sense when the threads of fate are aligning, when the subtle currents of opportunity are merging into a pattern visible only to those who wait, watch, and trust. The chosen know this instinctively. They understand that every delay, every moment of stillness, every second of observation carries the seed of advantage, of clarity, of transformation. Laughs softly, voice curling, and the irony is delicious. Patience feels like stillness, but it is movement. It is energy conserved, refined, focused. It is not about doing nothing. It is about preparing, perceiving, aligning, sharpening the mind and senses until the precise moment arrives and action becomes effortless, inevitable, unstoppable. The ordinary flounders, strikes too soon, loses momentum. The patient, they strike at the apex, the perfect instant, when the currents have aligned, when chaos has revealed the pattern, when the invisible hand has nudged them into position. Most people will never understand the thrill of patient power. They want excitement, drama, immediate results, and they mistake impatience for action. Laughs quietly, shaking his head, but the chosen, they know. They feel it in their bones, in their awareness, in the subtle pull of timing and alignment. They move through life attuned to the invisible, attuned to the signals, attuned to the moments when restraint becomes the most potent form of action, when stillness carries the weight of the world, and when waiting transforms from a burden into a weapon, a key, a pathway to the extraordinary. Laugh slow, almost whispering. Patience is not a pause. It is a preparation, a sharpening, a dance with time itself, and the chosen, they learn to master it, to move with it, to become part of its rhythm, sensing, noticing, understanding, aligning, until the moment of action arrives, and everything shifts in a way only they could have anticipated, only they could have prepared for, only they could have seen coming. Laughs softly, voice curling like smoke in the corners of the room. Awareness, such a cruelly misunderstood force. People think they are aware, that they notice, that they see the world as it is. Laughs low, but real awareness. Real awareness is a predator. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wave banners. It creeps, it lingers, it waits for the unobservant to slip, to falter, to look away. The ordinary believe they perceive reality, but they only skim the surface, distracted by noise, comfortable in their illusions. The chosen, they notice the tremor beneath the surface, the subtle shift, the slight ripple in the fabric of what seems normal, and they lean in, feeling, sensing, interpreting what others fail to see. Most people run from it. Laughs quietly, shaking his head. Awareness demands honesty. It strips away the illusions we cling to, exposes our weaknesses, reveals what we ignore, and shows us the invisible threads connecting moments, people, and events. It is uncomfortable, disorienting, even frightening. And that's why so few are willing to truly embrace it. They prefer distraction, comfort, noise. They are content to float in ignorance, to believe the world is as simple as it appears. But the chosen, they don't turn away. They lean in, they study, they observe. They accept the chaos and extract the pattern hidden within it. The beauty of awareness is in its subtlety. Laughs low, almost whispering. It doesn't shout. It whispers, it flickers, it teases. A glance here, a tone there, a hesitation, a repetition, a fleeting coincidence. These are the breadcrumbs, invisible to the distracted, glaringly obvious to the alert. The chosen learn to follow them, not because they are told, not because the world insists, but because they feel the rhythm beneath the surface, the hidden pulse, the invisible current pulling toward the next moment, the next opportunity, the next revelation. Most people confuse busyness for awareness. Laugh softly. Tilting his head, they fill their days with noise, conversation, tasks, distractions, thinking that activity is equal to perception. But awareness demands stillness, focus, attention, and the courage to confront what you would rather ignore. Every signal matters, every irregularity counts, every subtle change carries meaning. The chosen notice these things, feel them in their bones, interpret them with instinct and intuition honed by patience, and use them to navigate a reality that most will never understand. Laughs quietly, voice curling with amusement. Awareness is a double-edged sword. It shows you the opportunities, but it also shows you the dangers, the betrayals, the cracks in the foundations of life you have taken for granted. It forces choice, decision, action. It strips away comfort, illusions, certainty. And yet, the chosen welcome it, lean into it, savor the sharpness of insight, the thrill of understanding, the delicious tension between what is and what could be. Every observation becomes a clue, every detail a key, every fleeting moment a signpost guiding toward the unfolding extraordinary. Most people miss this entirely. They react, they panic, they overcommit, or they ignore. Laughs softly, almost sinisterly, the subtle signals, the hidden currents, the delicate patterns. They pass unnoticed, but the chosen, they feel the tug, the nudge, the imperceptible vibration in the edges of reality. They learn to interpret it, to trust it, to follow it, to let it guide their steps without hesitation, without doubt, without the need for validation from the ordinary, oblivious world around them. Awareness compounds. Every observation, every note taken, every moment of attention builds a reservoir of insight that grows, sharpens, and strengthens. Laughs quietly, voice curling. The chosen begin to see connections invisible to anyone else, patterns in chaos, the orchestration behind what seems random. They sense opportunities, anticipate challenges, recognize signals, and navigate the unfolding of events with a precision that feels almost supernatural to the unobservant. The ordinary cannot grasp it, the impatient cannot follow it, the fearful cannot endure it. But the chosen, they move within it, attuned, aligned, alive to the whispers that the rest of the world cannot hear. Laughs low, tilting his head. Awareness is not passive. It is active, deliberate, cunning. It requires focus, courage, patience, and the willingness to feel the world fully, without distraction, without escape, without flinching. And those who embrace it, who follow it, who let it shape their perception, they step into a reality hidden to the rest, a world pulsing with subtle signals, hidden currents, unseen opportunities, and in their attention, their patience, their courage, they begin to move toward what the universe has been quietly preparing, waiting for them in plain sight, invisible to everyone else, palpable only to the aware. Laughs softly, almost as if savoring a secret the world isn't ready for courage. Such a misunderstood delight. People imagine it as loud, dramatic, heroic, something that everyone notices, applauds, admires. Laughs low, voice curling, but true courage, real courage, is far subtler, far stranger, far more intoxicating. It is not the roar of a crowd, the flash of recognition, the applause of the masses. It is the whisper in the dark that tells you to stand when every instinct screams to run, the quiet decision to act when uncertainty looms, the resolve to move forward when the ordinary would retreat. It lives in the spaces between fear and action, in the shadows where most people dare not tread, where the brave must step alone. Most people mistake confidence for courage. Laughs softly, shaking his head, bravado, bluster, noise, performance. They think these are the same. They confuse bold gestures for substance, appearances for power. But courage doesn't perform. Courage doesn't need an audience. Courage is quiet, patient, calculating, precise. It feels fear fully, acknowledges danger fully, but does not yield. The chosen, they sense it deep in their bones, a pulse of determination that insists on recognition, a subtle rhythm that drives them forward even when the world warns them to stop. Laughs under his breath, tilting his head. Courage thrives in the unseen, in the unpredictable, in the uncertain. It is tested daily, in small moments, in subtle choices, in actions that seem inconsequential to others. Every time you decide to stand when retreat would be easier, every time you act without the comfort of certainty, every time you embrace discomfort instead of fleeing, it compounds, sharpens, strengthens. The chosen, they feel the build-up, they notice the hidden pattern, they recognize that courage is less about spectacle and more about alignment, intuition, timing, perception. Most people flee from challenge, they run from discomfort. They cling to predictability as if it were a life raft, as if it could save them from the inevitable waves of chaos that life throws at everyone. Laughs softly, voice curling but the courageous. They lean in. They watch the currents. They observe the subtle shifts. They act with precision, timing, and awareness. Every act of courage, no matter how small, sets a chain reaction into motion. Every choice, every movement, every risk taken reverberates through the unseen layers of reality, creating possibilities invisible to the timid, the distracted, the ordinary. Laughs quietly, almost sinisterly. Courage is not reckless, it is calculated. It sees the danger, the fear, the likelihood of failure, and moves forward anyway. The ordinary cannot comprehend this. They misjudge it. They think the courageous are fools, gamblers, lunatics, but the chosen, they understand that true courage is as much about perception as it is about action. It is about reading the signals others miss, trusting instincts others ignore, embracing the chaos that others flee from. The world tests the courageous at every turn, and yet they persist, because they know that every risk carries the seeds of opportunity, every challenge holds a hidden key, every threat is a lesson disguised as danger. Laughs low, voice curling, and here's the delicious twist. Courage compounds, builds, transforms. The more you practice it, the more instinctive it becomes. The chosen, They feel it becoming part of them, entwined with awareness, patience, intuition, and timing. It allows them to navigate chaos with precision, to sense the unseen, to act decisively when others hesitate, to move confidently through uncertainty and fear. Every challenge becomes an opportunity, every discomfort a teacher, every risk a doorway. Most people will never understand this. They confuse caution for wisdom, hesitation for prudence, fear for insight. Laughs softly, tilting his head, but the chosen, they know better. They trust the pulse of courage in their bones, the whisper in the shadows, the subtle call of action that demands attention. They step forward when others would fall back. They endure when others collapse. They act when others hesitate. And through this, through the quiet, deliberate, fearless embrace of what others flee, they begin to move through a world invisible to the timid, a world pulsing with hidden possibilities, a world that only the courageous can truly see, follow, and command. Laughs quietly, almost a whisper. Courage is not about victory or applause. It is about alignment, insight, action, perception. It is about reading the invisible, trusting the unseen, moving boldly through fear, and stepping into the extraordinary that waits quietly for the one willing to embrace it fully, without hesitation, without doubt, without retreat. Laughs softly, voice curling like smoke in the corners of a dimly lit room. Timing. Oh, how most people think they understand it, don't they? They believe it is about clocks, schedules, deadlines, the mechanical march of minutes and hours. Laughs low, shaking his head, but timing, real timing, is far stranger, far more deliciously precise. It is chaos captured, the invisible currents of events sensed and followed, the delicate alignment of opportunity and action that most people never notice because they are too impatient, too distracted, too convinced that the world must obey their sense of urgency. The chosen, they feel it deep in their bones, in the pulse of the air, in the subtle tremor of moments that seem ordinary to everyone else. Most people strike too soon, laugh softly, almost whispering. They see a sign, a hint, a whisper of possibility, and they act before the pattern has fully revealed itself. They mistake the flutter of coincidence for certainty, the stir of intuition for command, and then, inevitably, failure, chaos, frustration. The chosen, they wait, they lean in, they observe. They notice the invisible threads weaving the world into a pattern that will only be visible if approached with patience, awareness, and courage. Timing, after all, is not passive. It is active, deliberate, demanding. It is both shield and sword, lens and compass, guide and test. Laughs quietly, voice curling like smoke. The universe has a rhythm, subtle and precise. Most are deaf to it. They miss the faint signals, the minor irregularities, the coincidences too sharp to ignore. The chosen, they hear it, feel it, sense it, like a pulse beneath the surface of ordinary life. Every moment matters. Every hesitation, every glance, every flicker counts. The world conspires with timing, preparing the stage, aligning the threads, nudging the patient, alert, daring forward until the perfect instant arrives. Most people will never see it, never feel it, never understand that their impatience has robbed them of countless opportunities. Timing tests you relentlessly, deliciously. Laughs low, almost sinisterly, it demands patience, observation, and the courage to hold still while the world rushes past, blind and frantic. Every second of waiting is a calculation, every delay a sharpening, every observation an alignment with forces unseen. The chosen, they do not panic, they do not strike randomly. They read the subtle cues, follow the invisible currents, and wait for the moment when action will be effortless, inevitable, precise. Impatience is the enemy. Haste is the trap. Precision is the power of the one who waits and watches, of the one who understands that timing shapes the extraordinary. Most people do not recognize opportunity when it arrives because they are too busy, too loud, too clumsy. Laughs softly, tilting his head. Timing is invisible to them. It requires awareness, focus, courage, and trust in the unseen. The chosen, they sense the subtle vibration beneath the chaos, the invisible alignment of events, the faint pulse that heralds transformation. They move through life attuned to this rhythm, patient, deliberate, alert. Every act, every decision, every moment is positioned in harmony with the currents that most would never even notice. Laughs quietly, voice curling, and here's the thrill. The most exquisite part of timing is that it rewards patience and punishes haste. The ordinary falters, strikes too soon, or waits too long. But the chosen, they navigate the invisible, anticipate the alignment, and act with precision that feels almost supernatural. Every thread they touch, every opportunity they seize, every step forward compounds with the currents of timing, creating momentum, clarity, and advantage invisible to the frantic, the fearful, the distracted. Timing is a form of mastery,